Hey everyone, welcome back to more Flesh and Bad, and today I want to do some more Zen practice for the upcoming Pro Quest. I want to focus a little bit more on Zen just while he's still legal. I will play, I think, a little bit of Jarl in kind of the future, but Zen for now, just because I do think he'll probably be legal by the time I end up playing my Pro Quest, so I want to kind of at least put in a couple reps into him. So, what do we have for the list for today? So I've changed up the blue bait. We're cutting the hack to realities, if that wasn't clear. But we're bringing in some extra blues today. So what I wanted to actually toy around with was adding like 2 additional biting breezes over the pouncing keys. So what this does is it ultimately means that we are losing out on like a blue 3 block, but we are adding a little bit more consistency in like developing our hands, because I've had like a couple hands in the past couple days where it's just like 2 blue pouncing keys and like a wax off and then like something else. I think the pouncing key is good as maybe like a one of, but like the consistency of this card does sometimes like hurt you a bit. And so yeah, I felt like maybe adding the biting breezes would also help, and it also kind of helps in the new matchup because our plan in the new matchup is basically let me actually pull that up real quick. So our plan in the new matchup is basically we cut 100 wins, cut levels, and we actually I think are bringing in these wax on and key unleashed as well. And like maybe fat decking while also cutting down on some of the like the clunky cards, like maybe like Wind Chakra. So if we look at this, we're at like 29 blues that we can like pretty safely play in a new. Wind Chakra is probably on the border, honestly, but like bringing in some extra yellows, which also can help you like with persuasive, is kind of interesting. And yeah, I want to actually talk about the yellow key unleashed. So blue key unleashed, I think, is a little bit risky into new specifically with this kind of configuration. Where so there are basically like 2 configurations you can play into new, right? There's one configuration where you're doing like the tiger stuff, like you're only running like tiger stuff, where it's like incants and harmony hunts and stuff like that, but that makes your wind chakras bad. And then there's kind of like the leave in all the non-tiger stuff, like you leave in like blue pouncing key, you leave in like just like basically cut all your tiger generators, and then you're like blue pouncing keys, your blue key unleashed, like those get better. I think I like the tiger, like leaving the tiger stuff more just for more consistency, is my opinion. And especially I think that helps like you kind of raise new a lot, especially when you're losing out on cards like levels. And yeah, that's kind of what I want to try out today. So we're bringing the yellow key unleashed, and now let's talk about scar for a scar, which is maybe the spice for today's video. So I've been having like, I feel like the Aurora matchup is not at the point where it feels like it's favored anymore. It feels like it's very die rolly, like coin flippy, that kind of thing. I wanted to see if maybe adding an additional source of like go again and just like a 0 for 4 would be kind of interesting in this matchup. It's kind of weird because like we don't have like the same payoff that Aurora has for like running Scar for a Scar, right? Like we don't have like CLV or anything. But if we can like kind of keep pace with her, which I think Scar might let you do, then I think this card gets a little bit more interesting. So that's kind of what I wanted to try it out in that slot, and it also maybe helps into like stuff like Enigma and stuff. So I want to play test this card a little bit, just as a 2 of. I don't think like this card is going to like revolutionize the deck or anything, but like I think maybe as like a 2 of go again source, it's like kind of interesting just at the 0 for 4 stat line. So I'm gonna try it out today. And yeah, I think that's kind of the core of the deck, so let's go ahead and kind of get into some games. All right, so we got a Zen matchup on our hands. What do we want to do for the Zen matchup? So we definitely want our flicks. This is notably a matchup that I don't think matters a ton in terms of like wax on, wax off. We'll give them a good luck, have fun. Uh, yes. I'll give them the same. All right, let's run Key Unleashed here. I don't think we want our wax on, wax off package. I've seen some Zens run it. Yeah, I don't know. Doesn't sit very well with me. You can also cut the yellow Key Unleashed just for consistency's sake. I think that's also kind of reasonable. Scar for Scars are kind of spicy. Should we run those into Zen? It's like kind of tempting. Is there anything awkward we could cut? What if we run these 3 over like E-Strikes or something? That's kind of spicy. Yeah, let's try this. This is kind of more of a fun board than I think like a consistent board, but we'll go ahead and give this a shot. All right, so they're opting. Did they choose to go first, or did I choose to go first? Or I think they won the die roll, right? So I guess they chose to go first. Very interesting. All right, it's leading off on 7. So we have some filtering options here. Option 1 for filtering is block 9, and then we lose Chase the Tail, which is obviously unfortunate. So the question is the 1 damage from this E-Strike worth keeping the Chase the Tail in hand? I think it is. If we draw like any blue, we can basically like pop off here. There's also an option of whether we want to get Pouncing Paws, but we don't know that we're going to need them next turn. So I think we're just going to block like this and just hope we draw blue. It's a little bit greedy if we don't draw into blue, which is unfortunately the case here. Okay, so we unfortunately missed our 1 damage on Pouncing Claws because I think what we're going to do is we're just going to play out a Natural Chase aspect and then Arsenal the Rising Sun. Definitely a little bit unfortunate, but sometimes you got to do what you do. So unfortunately, we did miss out 1 damage there, but we didn't know we needed to pop Pouncing Claws there. So I think that's kind of a reasonable no block. If we knew we were drawing this exact hand, I think blocking with the Pouncing Paws maybe makes sense there, but obviously we didn't. Still pretty fine. It looks like they're not maybe going to have a super strong turn next turn if they're reacting here, so we don't have to worry about like 5-card hand or anything. Seems like they're also fat decking slightly, which I think in general is kind of wrong into the Zenmir, but you know, Zenmir is famously kind of cursed, so maybe it doesn't matter a whole lot. All right, gonna opt for the Yellow Wax On, which is actually like being used to pretty good effect here. A lot better than that card normally is, I think, in the Zen matchup. So now we have information that they're presumably on, wax off. We have drop plus Rising Sun, which could be really good, and looks like they're going to hit us with the levels. Pretty solid. So unfortunately here we do not have Passover, but that's okay. Fortunately, we do have drop at least, but I think on our turn we maybe want to use drop. These low blue hands are kind of killing me a little bit here. Because normally what I would try to do with this hand specifically is if I had these 2 Transcend cards and like another blue that I could play, I would try to like sandbag one of the blues. But unfortunately that's not going to happen here. But one good thing I guess about this hand is that we do have Scar for Scar live, which is kind of cool. I don't think this is going to make or break the matchup or anything, but definitely a pretty neat card. I feel like here they probably want to get like a Mauling Key instead of Key Unleash, because so they can swing Kakara in addition. Yeah, probably the most efficient thing they could do here. So the question is, do we want to transcend during our turn or their turn? I think we'd rather do it during our turn. So they're going to opt to buff here, maybe not wanting the card draw. It's kind of interesting. I feel like I often, if I was in this situation, so they have a Tiger in hand, obviously. If I was in this situation, I would try to draw if I were them, just so that I can draw like an additional threat. You also cycle towards your chi a little bit faster. There's definitely a lot of benefits here too, I think, drawing the card over the, like, generally I think a card in Arsenal, especially when you're kind of like this early in the game, is worth probably more than 2 damage. But they are going to get us down 15 life here, so we go to 25. I guess we're 14 damage turn, which is pretty solid still. But we have a very good turn on the crackback. All right, we'll start with Scar for Scar, which is our spicy tech. I mean, 0 for 4 Gogan's like pretty good. All right, we'll let it hit. Ooh, they got the flick. Sure. It's a little bit annoying. But this is fine now, so let's do Rising Sun drop. We'll drop the Scar now. Get a resource, and then potentially filter this chi. We draw a Wind Chakra, which is very, very good, actually. So we'll go ahead and tuck the chi here, gain a resource. And then this will also shuffle back that chi when we go to tutor, which is really nice, because it means we have a chance of redrawing it later. Let's go ahead and close the chain and Wind Chakra here. Unfortunately, the Flick Black is still going to be live, of course. But we'll go ahead and just send Kakara. And then what are we tutoring for? All right, they're going to opt to pop Traverse, which is interesting given that they're only on a 4-card hand. Generally, I like my Traverses to be on a little bit bigger hands, but that's just me. Let's, I guess, go ahead and grab a swipe here, and then that kind of maybe also forces additional blocks, or if they don't block, then we just develop out another Tiger Swipe. Alternative is we can just get 100 Winds and leave a swipe in the deck. I mean, 100 Winds is basically the same stat line, right? But it gets 100 Winds out of our deck, which has some kind of benefits. I think this is probably fine. Oh, they are opting to block here. Interesting. Are they trying to set up for like a Zen state on their turn? Like, why have this hand, I guess? I have a couple questions, I guess. Like, so they block with Flick Black, obviously, and they did it to like pretty good effect. I guess the question is like, why block Traverse when you know you're not like trying to keep a full grip, I guess? It's definitely kind of an interesting question. All right, opting to block with the E-Strike as well. Pretty solid. It almost kind of feels like they're maybe setting up for a Zen state here, which in general I don't love doing into the mirror. This is like a surprisingly good weakest link. But we could also just like block 6 on this and then Arsenal Path and kind of be in a similar spot. I kind of don't mind that. We could also like block Traverse, block with 200 wins. This is also like a little bit of an unfortunate hand, but sometimes you draw like this. I kind of like the so they're on the wax on plan. They have flick, so they have yellow wax on, which means they're also running like red wax on, and they also have sync and they also have flick. Like they probably have a ton of reacts. So if we just give up the tempo here and hold on to Transcend, I think that's going to benefit us pretty greatly here. I think. Obviously, it feels pretty bad to give 3 cards here, but like sacrificing tempo to if they have like a very react heavy hand, I think is well worth it. We kind of get rewarded here if they have CNC, because, well, we'd have to give like the CNC go again, which is awkward, but it's still probably worth it if we want to just dodge it. I think this is mostly a matchup about transcending not only just like first, but also who transcends more often. I feel like is kind of like the key deciding factor for this matchup, which is why I think VAT decking is in general not ideal. But we'll see what they got here. Okay, E-Strike is 9 damage in total, presumably. So not bad, but we're going to basically just try to put our foot in the gas here. So I think, so we can incant Path here. We can block with Traverse here if we want to, and then we can Arsenal Stir the Pot for a later turn. That's option 1. We can also double Transcend. How do we double Transcend? We can't really. We can if we give the Pouncing Key go again, we double Transcend. I'm going to give him a thinking real quick. So if we give Pouncing Key go again, we double Transcend, we gain 2 resources. We have 1 cheat and we have 5 floating. We get Chase the Tail, pay 1 into this, 1, 1, 1, 2. Does that work? I think that works, and that also keeps our Traverse up. I think the math doesn't work. Like, we can't Kakara if we block with Traverse here, so maybe I'm fine just doing that play where, so we lose 1 damage, we gain a resource if we use the Pouncing Key here, which I think is worth it. Alternative is we double Transcend now, which doesn't seem worth it. I think this is fine. Still got armor left. We still got a lot of tempo. So let's start with the Pouncing Key and see what they do. So I think this makes more sense than going for the incant, right? Because if we pitch the Stir the Pot to the incant, then we don't get that additional resource. All right, so now in resolutions, let's go ahead and double Transcend. Gain 2 resources here, which is really nice. Then we do, no, we don't do Kakari yet, sorry. We close chain, play incant, and we have to do this in response. Because if we don't do it in response, then we don't get the tiger. Grab chase, let the incant resolve. Then we Kakara. So we do 2, yeah, so the math works out better this way. So we do 2, 2, 4, 4, 5. I think that's really good numbers. And assuming that they're on the wax on, wax off package, I think that our numbers here are kind of annoying against that a little bit. I guess they would still get like a pretty decent amount of value out of it, but I think it's still kind of fine for us. All right, go ahead and play Tiger and then finish on the mauling. So we had a really good comeback turn that turn. We still have our Traverse up, which is really nice. All right, they are running the red wax ons as well, which, again, you know how I feel about those. I'm not crazy about them, but they're fine, I guess, sometimes. All right, Sacred Art. Are we mono transcending? I wonder if they're going to Zen State here. If it's Zen State, I'm kind of fine with that. Does this Chase the Tail? This is like a pretty weak chase turn. And this is just 7 damage, right? Or I guess 8 damage. Okay, so they chase from Arsenal. They still have the Chi in hand. Obviously, they get Aspect, and then they can Arsenal a Tiger. Or I guess they can also get Swipe if they want to. So I guess the question is, why pop Pouncing Paws? Because then I guess you can pop Pouncing Paws for like 1 extra damage on Swipe. I think that's like fine. I think here we're just going to throw Traverse and then develop our Chase Steal here. But we get 4 into 4, so this is exactly what we expected. And then we'll throw Traverse in front of it, go to 6, and then we have a very nice turn lined up here for us. And we're also shuffling back a lot of Chi in the deck, so always happy about that. We have Traverse and Shuko still up. They also do as well, but we have the tempo here, which is very, very important. So how do we best want to do this, I guess? So obviously we're playing Growl, we're playing this, we're playing... So I guess we can either pitch 100 wins or pitch Winds of Eternity or play Winds of Eternity at the end. So what do we want to do here? We have Growl for 4. I'll send them a thinking real quick. So we have Growl for 4. Chase Tail comes in for 4. We get +3 on the Tiger, so 7. So we got 11 total here. We get Aspect, which is another 3. So 3 plus 11 is that. We also throw in Kakara, which is another 3. So this is a 17 damage here, which means that they have to give us at least 1 card. If we throw an extra 2 damage at the end of it, does that matter? Or do we want to just Arsenal 100 wins for 1 extra damage, but go again? I think throwing the 2 damage makes sense. Maybe we don't need an Arsenal here. We also haven't seen a single CNC yet, so I think this is kind of reasonable. I'll start with Kakara here because it's most annoying against Wax On, Wax Off. Then I think, when do we want to Growl? I guess we Growl now. This does give them, I think, I guess a window for like Wax On, Wax Off if they really want it. All right, but it seems like they're not going to go for it here. So they're maybe opting for a blocking pattern here. I think we're out of kill range now, or we're just above it maybe. So I think, so we do 2, 4, 3, 4. So they still need to give us 1 more card. And then we can also throw the Winds in front of it, I guess. I think this still works out for us. All right, seems like they're going to opt to block out, which is kind of what I did earlier, where I was basically just trying to put them off tempo. Us having this Winds in Arsenal is definitely worse than the 100 wins, but not by like a significant margin. All right, they're giving up Shuko and Kasaya here, which is definitely comforting. And I guess the question is, do we want to just chuck this in front of it? So how many 100 wins, I guess, do we have left in the deck? We have a singular 100 wins. I feel like I'd rather just get this out of Arsenal because it's like a awkward chain ender. But given that they kind of blocked out this turn, I think maybe holding on to the 100 wins was slightly better. All right, just sending in Kakara, which I think we are A-okay with. I think we have 1 more chase, or no, we're out of chases. That is good information. So in the case that we're out of chases, I think we are just probably going to get a 0 cost here and then do 0 costs, just throw all of our 0 costs at them, and then Arsenal CNC is maybe the plan. So we go to 4. We still have 8 armor, or we still have 8 life functionally, 4 armor, and then 4 health. And then let's go ahead and grab a 0 cost here. So what is the 0 cost for grabbing? I guess it's Pouncing Key. So we do Tiger, Tiger Swipe, Aspect, Pouncing Key. Yeah, that works out pretty well. This also maybe like threatens the on hit here because they think that like maybe we need this Tiger Swipe to hit to get the Pouncing Key. It seems like they're gonna just cover it up anyways, which is fine. So we get to do 3, 0, 4. We're still forces another card out of hand. But it seems like they're kind of doing the strat where they want to basically just kind of give up the tempo to see if they can get us to brick. But I think our deck is going to brick a lot less than theirs is, just because we're not running like the wax on wax stuff, which I think is kind of redundant, at least in my humble opinion. All right, so we're Kakaraing again, so we'll take another 2, go to 2 versus their 3, and our hand does not brick, so basically win. I mean, it bricks like a little bit. We can do 1, or I guess 3 to CNC. That like kind of works. I guess it strips hand at least, and we are still breed anger, and then if we're drawing in a chi, we just win. So this should be still fine. All right, we'll go ahead and start with the incant, and then send in the growl. Could also send breed anger if that's more annoying. It might be. But they also have tons of reacts in deck from the looks of it, so I feel like CNC will get a decent amount of value just on the basis of that. All right, Red Key Unleashed. Can't tell if they're running multiple copies. I don't think they are, but we'll do 2 and 6 here. Should still basically strip hand. Like maybe they keep another card, but we still just have armor, so should be fine here. And then if they have any number of reacts in hand, they're kind of dead here. Or I guess not. If they 2-3 blocks and then react, I guess they live. But we still just have tempo. And yeah, one thing I want you all to pay attention to is kind of like the deck sizes here. So I've transcended, I think, a lot more than them, which means I've thinned my deck a lot more. I feel like that's also like maybe a good indicator when you get towards the end of the Zen matchup, I guess, is like what are the deck sizes kind of looking like? Because I think I think a good measure for success in the Zen mirror is just like who transcends more often or who has chi in hand more often, I guess is a better indicator because traverse obviously. All right, so how do we make the breakpoints as annoying as possible here? I guess that involves breed anger, right? Just get, I guess Pouncing Key. Don't think it. I guess Winds is better. We're also at combo cards here, which sometimes actually does happen in Zen Mirror. I feel like more often than not, I do somewhat kind of run out of combo towards the end. I think in the Battle Hard in Portland, Jude and I, when we were playing in the top 8, we both kind of like ran out of combo cards towards the end, which is very weird. I feel like that's been happening more and more often to me, but I think we still got it here. I think we just barely had enough to kind of squeak over the line here. And yeah, looks like they had a Tiger Swipe in hand, a Wax On, so I assume that their Wax Offs were like somewhere in the deck. Yeah, it seems like they were pretty deep in there. So they were running Weakest Link, they were running CNC. Wait, they're only running 1 CNC? Interesting. Opting for the CNCs over that. We're also a blue spinning wheel kick gamer. Okay, that is not a card I've seen in a very long time. Yeah, their deck's pretty spicy. I think that Weakest Link is like they had 3 Weakest Link actually. That's kind of interesting. This is kind of like reminiscent, I guess, of like the Nick Butcher list. And then how many sinks, or I guess how many reacts are we running? We're running 1, 2, so 3 sinks, and then 2 flicks, and then 3 red three red wax ons, obviously, and then how many yellow wax ons? I guess is the question. 1 yellow wax on, so 5 yellow wax ons in total. So yeah, that kind of does make sense as a kind of distribution here. Although that's definitely a lot more reacts than I think I would generally run into the Zen mirror. Mainly because I think that wax on wax off is like pretty bad. But yeah, the sync belows I think are like pretty reasonable, especially into like decks like Prism and stuff like that. So I don't think this deck is bad. They also had 1 red spinning wheel kick. That's also pretty spicy. Maybe they just had that in the board or whatever. That kind of makes sense. All right. Well, that was a very interesting Zen mirror. I think we played it pretty well. Oh, the top of our deck is also very interesting there. Triple flick. So yeah, I think we did pretty well that Zen matchup. Let's see if we can get another here. All right, so we've got an Enigma. So Enigma is a matchup that I think is not as free as it once was, but we'll give it our best shot here. So I think what I'm gonna do is bring in the Scarfer Scars and then cut our wax-ons, maybe bring in like some extra blues. And then is there anything we want to cut here maybe for consistency purposes? I could see trimming down on E-Strike maybe, or maybe the Scarfer Scars are also kind of cute. Could also see like Winds of Eternity, maybe like a Cosmic and Winds of Eternity. Maybe doing something like this, going a little bit lower in the blue count, but maybe just a little bit more threat dense. I think Cosmic has also won me a fair number of my Enigma games, so I'll leave it in. I could also see like trimming on the E-Strikes here, but this hand is very good. So how do we do this? So I obviously kind of want to double transcend. Is there a way to double transcend though? Not super efficiently. We can growl the next target you play this combat chain, so we can growl, pathwell travel. We can't pathwell travel and preserve and close the chain at the same time. So I think we're maybe overthinking this. Maybe we just go for the levels. And then we could also pitch the growl Arsenal Preserve, which does set us up pretty well for next turn. So I guess we're going to do that. It's actually kind of a little bit weird to do this, but it's turn 1, so it doesn't really matter in terms of like pushing damage. It's more so I want to just develop out the chi in the deck. And then what are we going to get here? So you have the one floating. This is just go again, or this has go again, so we're drawing an extra card. I guess we'll just grab like maybe a 0 cost here, like swipe. Because if we draw like a red, then we can just pitch it, get deeper in the deck. So let's go ahead and draw our card. Draw a pouncing key. Could be good. I mean, we can also just send it for 3, which is fine. I guess the question is, do we want to actually make a card is a little bit more annoying? Maybe pitch it here. Preserves threat density, I guess, and then also we're basically sending 3 versus 4, which is like I'm assuming this Tiger Swipe's not hitting, so I guess it's like just a free 3 that leaves a pouncing key in the deck versus a 3 that we have to like pay a card with, I guess. Interesting. They're holding back a lot of cards here. Curious if they're gonna block. Blocking the 2 weakest links. Okay, I'm kind of fine with this. Go ahead and Arsenal Preserve, which will set us up nice for next turn, and we draw more Transcend, which is excellent against CNC, and we don't have to worry about weakest link as much anymore, which is very nice as well. So pretty decent turn 1 from us. They have a levels in hand, so Spectral Shield plus levels buff maybe is their turn, which I don't think we really care about. So I think we're just going to let them have it here. I think on this next turn, we unfortunately are going to have to double Transcend. But our hand is like probably good enough for that is fine. Okay, looks like they're going to go for like the buff draw on levels, which is very spicy. Some very good damage from them, basically 9 damage and then draw a card on turn 1, which is it's pretty nice. And they also make 2 Spectral Shields, so like 11 value turn kind of. I'm assuming they're drawing a card here. Yeah, so that makes sense. And yeah, I think we're just going to keep this hand. No reason to do anything. We're just going to transcend early and transcend often. So unfortunately, I guess we have Preserve, so I should be looking at my own graveyard. I guess we'll buy back a levels with Preserve Tradition. So how do we want to start this? We can start with like Kakara if we really want to. How do we hide as much information as possible? I guess we'll start with Kakara and see what they do. Double Transcend, we grab Aspect. If they pass over us, does that like screw us? I don't think it really does. So we still just have tons of resources, and we also have the chi left over. So we'll do Homage Preserve, buy back levels. Resource, and then grab our Aspect here. I guess we can also IP with chi here. Well, I guess we're gonna be IPing with chi. Maybe I didn't think this through all the way. Maybe IPing with chi is like fine though. For some reason I thought we had for like 1 short and we pitched this, but I think it's still like maybe fine. Right, they got a bunch of reacts here. That's a-okay. I think we'll just finish on CNC here. So maybe we didn't need the extra floating, but we still needed to like, we couldn't like sandbag a Transcend, I think. They're gonna Path will travel this, plus Preserve. Interesting. So good thing they didn't at least line up the, they didn't line up the Passover on our Preserve. Which I guess is a little bit fortunate. So they have 2 chi in hand, and then they have a Warmongers. It's also kind of interesting. They're going to pitch to Enigma on their turn just to soak up some damage. Which I guess makes sense. Kind of. Kind of curious why they didn't do that after we've sent all our damage. But who knows. At least they did it before the Shuko trigger, so they didn't like completely get posed by Shuko. Alright, so unfortunately we're not going to be getting an Arsenal here, but I think that's kind of fine, especially given this hand. This hand is very good. Yeah, I think I miscounted, and I thought we had like 1 less resource, and I thought we were pitching this chi to CNC, but I can't count apparently at this time of night. Alright, let's go ahead and just send another Chase Aspect here. Don't think there's really a reason to overthink it, and then we'll debate whether or not we want to play the Hunger Winds after the chain is closed. Alright, Restless Coalescence. feel like a question that people should ask me more often is, do I get bored of resolving chase aspect? And I think the answer is yes, kind of. I think it's just a lot of clicking on Talishar, which I'm not necessarily a fan of. But I like doing damage, so that's at least positive. But definitely hoping to maybe have a deck that clicks a little bit less as the whatever is after Zen in terms of my deck choices. All right, we'll do 3, then 4, then I guess maybe 3. Depends on, I guess, what they want to keep. I might honestly keep this in Arsenal if they're going to a 1-card hand. Don't think there's really a reason to try to overcommit here, and then we can set ourselves up for a lot more tempo next turn, potentially. So we'll go ahead and Arsenal 100 wins here. All right, pulling Tunic to do what? For a Miraging. So popping that's obviously pretty efficient, but we could also not pop it. Play out another Chase a Tail, but the problem with that is we have to, like, obviously we have to, like, throw Traverse in front of it. So I guess the question is, like, how greedy do you want to get here? Because no matter what, we're basically, like, losing resources regardless on this. So I feel like maybe the best play here is to just get a Transcend, or just get a card to tutor, like, a 1-cost here, and then play it, and then, like, Arsenal Windchakra or Harmony or something. I think that's probably sound, and then we can just leave the Tiger up. I think that's fine. Seems kind of okay here. Obviously leaking 5 damage, and then I think we're maybe arsenaling CNC as well, maybe? Or maybe we're playing CNC. I'm not entirely convinced either way yet. But it's definitely, I think, okay here. So I guess the question is, do we want to arsenal the Windchakra, or do we want to arsenal... I guess we're maybe not even arsenaling anything if we want to just send CNC. Maybe we're not sending CNC, though. Maybe we're just YOLOing the Harmony because it's 3 damage. And then maybe extra. Then we Arsenal CNC, get a 1-cost. I think this is fine. Okay. That works for me, dog. Sure. Well, you know, it's what separates me from the good. Sorry, not what separates me from the good Zen players. That's what separates me from the bad Zen players. Yes, that's what I meant to say. Totally not a Freudian slip there. I love hitting off Ancestral Harmony. Also, I probably should have, like, a card or whatever, but the aspect of Tiger Body off the top made me very, very happy. All right. Nice little +7 on Ancestral Harmony or whatever. Love to see it. I will miss you dearly, Ancestral Harmony, because I know that they're going to basically use this card as, like, their design space for combo cards in the future. Like, there's no way that Ancestral Harmony is, like, ever good again, I think. All right, finish on... I guess we're not finishing on Swipe. We're going to play Swipe and then play the 100 wins. Just get our 9 damage. Arsenal CNC here, which could or could not be good, but we'll see. And yeah, I'd say that's a pretty good turn from us. All right, Phantasma Clasm. It's probably going to fix our hand more than anything. I guess they can take a blue here. That kind of hurts. But then we can just draw into another blue. I don't know. I think this is kind of fine. Like, what did they even take here? I guess they took the blue. That kind of makes sense. So now we just block with Pouncing Paws, do 3, 1, 4 CNC. We could also just not CNC again, which is also, I think, acceptable. So I'll take another 8 here. Again, I think their vanilla damage is maybe a little too late. So let's start with Growl, I think. I think growling first makes more sense because we can put the buff on the tiger, like the first tiger, as opposed to the second tiger. I guess it doesn't really matter a ton. They're both kind of weird to block. Could also play around the quick dodge if we want to. Maybe making it 2 is not actually like... I mean, we're going to have to make one of them 2, I feel like, either way. So I think this is fine. We'll just pop the Pouncing Paws here. And then I guess we'll... Or maybe we should pick a card first, but it's, like, fine. So it might... Okay, so they're not going to opt to quick dodge here. Very interesting. I feel like now has to be the time, right? Like, they're kind of dying at this point. But maybe they're they've got other plans for us. Who knows? All right, Fate's pretty good. We send another 1 and then another 4. Still sitting on the CNC, which could be pretty decent later whenever they decide to go on an Arsenal. And we'll force another card out here. Yeah, I'm kind of very surprised that they didn't use Quick Dodge here, but maybe it's because yeah, maybe want to play that out. Maybe it's because they didn't have a blue in hand. That's also a possibility. So our lose con here is basically bricking. This is not a brick, but also not a brick, I think. So we can do 2-1 pitch to CNC. All right, so they had 2 3-blocks in hand. They had pass over an Arsenal. Like, can they live this? If they restless, they block 2 on this, and then we CNC, they double block it. We send 1 extra. They take 1, go to 2. We Arsenal Mullen Key, and then next turn, we're drawing Sacred Art plus a bunch of 0 costs. I think we're in a pretty good spot there. All right, so that was a pretty good game. We unfortunately didn't see any of our new tech, like our Scar for Scar, our Yellow Key Unleashed. Yellow Key Unleashed, I think is more like for new at this point, honestly. It just feels like maybe a little bit better than running the blue version at this point, just because I feel like I cut that into new just with how much Tiger stuff we're running. All right, so I think that's probably gonna wrap it up for the video today. So we played Enigma and Zen, which are 2 of, I guess, the better decks right now. I think like Zen, Aurora, and Enigma are supposedly the S tier decks, which I kind of agree with to some extent. I think Zen is kind of like definitely on the cusp of S tier. It feels like you just are kind of like playing Aurora with less consistency and less card draw. But I still think the deck is very good, and I'm pretty sure it's going to be leaving at some point. So might as well put in some effort to see if I can be some of the reason that he ends up, I guess, kicking the bucket here. So definitely looking forward to playing a little bit more of this deck to kind of like test it this week. But we'll probably take a break and play some other decks at some point this week as well. So as always, thank y'all for watching, and I'll see y'all next time. And a special thank you to all the folks who decided it would be a good idea to give us $2 on Patreon. We really appreciate the support, but it's obviously never required.